The travel graph shows Jason's bicycle excursion from home to the mall and on to the park. Using information from the graph, calculate the distance from his home to the mall. And so our goal is to determine the distance from his home to the mall. Now notice that here is his home and the mall is here. And so we're gonna count in twos. So this is 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and 12. So the distance from his home to the mall is actually 12 kilometers because distance is measured in kilometers. Next, we have to determine the time he arrived at the mall. Now the time that he arrived at the mall, notice that here, right? So here is when he arrived at the mall. And this time right here is actually, so this is 10 a.m. This is 10:15 a.m., 10:15. And this right here is 10:30, okay, a.m. So that means that the time that he arrived at the mall is actually 10:30 a.m. Next, we have to determine the average speed of his journey to the mall. Now, average speed is distance divided by time. The distance, right, from home to the mall is 12 kilometers. That's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. That's the distance. Now the time, right, the time taken is going to be, we have to actually subtract. So the time taken is going to be the time that he left home, which is 9:45, right? Because this is 9, this is 9:15, this is 9:30, so this is 9:45. And the time that he arrived at the mall, right? Time that he arrived at the mall, which is 10:30, all right? This is 10, 10:15, and 10:30. So we have to subtract those two. So we have 10:30 minus 9:45. Now what do we know? Well, we know that 30 is less than 45, so we cannot subtract 30 and 45. So what we have to do is we have to borrow a whole hour from 10, and that means that this is 9. And since we're borrowing a whole hour from 10 and bring it over to the minute side, this becomes 60 minutes plus 30, and 60 plus 30 is definitely 90. And so on the minute side, what we actually have is 90, right? 9:45, and we have a 9. And so we subtract those two. We say 0 minus 5. 0 minus 5, we can't work, so we have to take away 1 from 9. That gives us 8. And we bring that 1 over to this side. This is 10 minus 5. And 10 minus 5 is 5. 8 minus 4 is 4. 9 minus 9 is 0. So that means that the time taken is, so 10:30 minus 9:45 is actually 45 minutes. We're going to take 45 minutes and convert it into an hour simply by dividing 45 and 60 because 1 hour is equal to 60 minutes. And so that's 0.75 hour. So the time is equal to 0.75 hours. So we have 12 kilometers divided by 0.75 hours. When we divide it, we get 16 kilometers per hour. Next, our goal is to determine the length of time he spent at the mall. So what time did he arrive at the mall? He arrived at the mall at 10:30, and he left the mall at 11. This is 11:45. 11:45. And so what that means is we have to calculate. We have to subtract those two times. This is 11:45 because this is 11, 11:15, 11:30, 11:45. This is 10:30 because this is 10, 10:15, 10:30. And so we have to subtract those two times. 11:45 minus 10:30. 45 minus 30. We have 5 minus 5, which we have 5 minus 0, which is 5. 4 minus 3, which is 1. 11 minus 10, which is 1. So that means that the length of time he spent at the mall is 1 hour and 15 minutes. Next, we have to determine the average speed for the entire trip. Now, average speed is equal to distance divided by time. And what is the distance? Well, the distance from home to the park is 16 because this is 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. So it's 16 kilometers. But what is the time taken? Well, the time taken, we have to subtract, right? So we have to take 9:45. This is 9:45 Let me subtract it with 12, right? It's 12, but it's actually supposed to be 12 noon. So it's 12 p.m., okay? And so we have, he started the journey at 9:45. He ended the journey at 12 noon or 12 p.m. And so we have to subtract those times. So we have 12 noon or 12 hours, 12 hours and 0 minutes, 9 hours, 45 minutes. We know that 0 minutes minus 45 minutes, we cannot do that because 0 is less than 45. So we must borrow a whole hour. When we borrow a whole hour, when we take away 1 hour from 12, we get 11. And when we borrow the whole hour from the hour sign and bring it over to the minute side, it becomes 60 minutes because 1 hour is equal to 60 minutes. And so what we have here is 60 minutes here. We have 11 hours here, and we have 9:45. And when we subtract, we have 60 minus 45. 0 minus 5 is, we cannot do that, so we have to borrow. We borrow 1 from the 6, so this becomes 5, and this becomes 1. So we have 10 minus 5, and 10 minus 5 is 5. 5 minus 4 is 1. Next, we have 11 minus 9, and 11 minus 9. Well, 11 minus 9, we have 2. We have 1 minus 9, but when we borrow from this 1, this becomes 0, and this becomes 11. So now we could say 11 minus 9, and 11 minus 9 is 2. And so that means that the time taken for the entire journey is 2 hours and 15 minutes. So that's the time. The distance is 16 kilometers, but the time 12 p.m. minus 9:45, which we have here, 12 p.m. minus 9:45 a.m. is equal to 2 hours and 15 minutes. But what does 15 minutes express as an hour? Express in terms of hours. We know that 1 hour is equal to 60 minutes. And so 15 minutes, again, 1 hour is equal to 60 minutes. So if we want to take 15 minutes and express it if you want to take 15 minutes and express it in terms of hours, we say 15 divided by 60, which gives us 0.25. And so that means that the time is actually 2.25 hours. And so we have 16 kilometers divided by 2.25 hours. When we divide these two, we get 7.111111, and the list goes on with the repeating ones. And so correct to 1 decimal place, the answer is 7.1 kilometers per hour. And that's the answer to this question.